Welcome to Element 7 of TPP for Essex Partners. Element 7, Co-Regulation of Stress and Distress. This element looks at how we can regulate, relate and reason with a child who is feeling stressed or distressed and the importance of reparation and restoring. Empathy plays an important part in this, as you will see. We have listed all the content that we deliver in Element 7 for the full advanced level TPP school settings training to give you an idea of the depth and breadth it covers. The concepts highlighted in purple are the concepts that we will cover with you in our overview of Element 7 today. Our emotion pot. This is similar to the mental health first aid stress bucket. However, this is a terracotta pot which we cannot see into, unlike the stress bucket. Our everyday experiences fill our pot with emotions and feelings, both positive and negative. The level of our pot is fluid. It changes as our experience change, moment to moment and day by day. We cannot see what's in someone else's pot just by looking at it. If we could open up the pot and see inside, we would notice that there's an amount of space that is left between the emotions and the top of the pot. It is our patience, our ability to wait, to bear frustration and disappointment, to manage letdowns and to think, weigh up and make choices. It's our resilience. So what fills up children and young people's emotional pots? Different people have different stressors in schools and settings. Exams are generally perceived to be a stressor for most people, but different environments and situations evoke different levels of stress for different people. Some may be stressed by separation from a key adult, a parent maybe, or by sights and sounds in a school setting. Many children are stressed by the unpredictability of their peers or different sensory environments. Examples of stressors could include common themes such as transitions, moving from different spaces, staff and expectations, knowing how to repair relationships when they go wrong, getting on with people who may not respond as expected, trusting and following the lead of an adult, being expected to organise themselves, and being in a restricted space with many others. Remember that young people may be on the brink of fight or flight continuously. If the emotions in our pot reaches the top, we're on the edge of shifting into our survival mode, all the F's. It could take just a very small thing to make our pot begin to overflow, which is why we sometimes see really big emotional reactions to very small, insignificant things. So what tells us that a child and young person may be distressed? The child and young person may display the following communicating behaviours: spitting, swearing, throwing objects, damaging property, hurting themselves and others, running, biting, crying or screaming, and making themselves sick. Children and young people and adults require another to help them. Another person needs to notice and process, model and support, and enable regulation to occur to emotionally contain. And this is called co-regulation. Supporting the child to drain their pot when they've had a tough morning before school or in their setting is very important because their pot is already full. This can be achieved by using a range of strategies such as low-level stress activities and a meet and greet. Alongside this, work needs to happen to teach and explore emotions and how to express them. The 3 R's is a sequential model from the work of Bruce Perry. Regulate is about supporting them to return to their window of tolerance. Relate is to show connection and empathy. And reason is about reflection and problem solving. This is a direct reference to what we talked about earlier in this programme, the upstairs and downstairs brain. If a child's in their downstairs brain, we need to regulate them first. We know that neuroscience has already told us they can't access their upstairs thinking brain at the moment. By connecting with them, showing empathy and getting alongside them, we can help them to access their thinking brain so we can begin to reflect and find solutions. It's important to remember to notice and acknowledge by name, using affirmation and validation. Consider where you sit, e.g. alongside, at their level, etc. Communicate in open body language. Initiate interaction empathically. Smile and laugh whenever you can. Understand distractions as attempt to self-soothe and self-regulate because a child is feeling stressed. Translate as much as possible. Commentate rather than interrogate. Regulate, relate and reason in this order. Connection before correction. For this to be successful on a regular basis, we need a planned response. This is an analogy of a lifeguard. A child is distressed and drowning. You are the lifeguard who swims out to regulate and puts your arms around the child, offers reassurance and helps them to the shore. Relate. You do this before telling them not to swim so far out next time. The reason. When the child is drowning in an emotional flood, it is more effective to regulate before reasoning. Lifeguards prevent you from being pulled under. Lifeguards need to train to have the skills to save lives. We need to apply the same practice to co-regulation. Training ourselves, reflecting on our skills, practicing, etc., to be able to respond when needed. This is a resource for staff that can be printed as a poster or resource. Note how once the distress has lessened, the regulate, relate, reason model can then be used to work through the incident. This is Albert Merriman's rule of personal communication. In communication, a speaker's words are only a fraction of his efforts. The pitch and tone of his voice, the speed and rhythm of the spoken word, and the pauses between those words may express more than what is being communicated by words alone. This has significant implications for our ability to communicate when we are stressed. We should also consider our behaviour and attitude when we are confronted by an individual who is stressed. If 55% of communication is through body language, we need to consider our body language most of all. Sometimes practitioners are saying the right thing, maybe using an agreed script such as "I'm here to help," but giving a different message through their tone and body language. It's important to note that there are cultural differences in communication styles as well. For example, some people may not give consistent eye contact because within their culture it is respectful to lower their gaze. This also applies to those with additional needs and/or barriers to communication. Staff need to give consideration to how what communication style has been learnt from within the child's environment. Every family is different. How do you think culture and family background changes percentages of this model? How does virtual interaction change connection and communication? And how does cultural changes such as wearing masks impact this? Here's a reminder of the stair gate from element 3. This is the gateway from the downstairs survival brain and the upstairs thinking brain. You can be the one to help a child or young person to move from one to the other through co-regulation. A good way to remember how to do this is to use the BEST model. Body posture, eye contact, speech and tone of voice. Although language is turned off, children and young people are still reading our non-verbal communication. We would now like you to pause this webinar and click on the link to video 9 in element 7 of the video link handout that goes along with these webinars. Empathy is essential for effective co-regulation. Let's watch this video and explore the difference between empathy and sympathy. Please note there is some emotive content in this video as it mentions divorce and miscarriage. Scripts can be a supportive prompt when we're feeling challenged by situations, but they need genuineness and empathy to be delivered effectively. When using scripts, remember you can only use the scripts once the child is in their upstairs brain. We already know it's futile to communicate or reason with someone in their downstairs brain. Model language you'd like the child or young person to adopt and internalise. Personalise the language to meet the individual's needs. Keep scripts simple and few in numbers to avoid confusion and to maximise impact. Don't nag. Take care with your tone and deliver in a pleasant, interactive way. Try to avoid the scripts when the child or young person is in distress. By then it's probably too late. Use the scripts frequently. Mix and match scripts as appropriate. and pull back from using scripts as they become internalised. We have now come to the end of element 7. Please be aware that the topic of trauma and emotional well-being can be emotive, and it's important to look after your own well-being. There are some useful links for accessing support should you or someone else you know need it. You can find this slide in a downloadable copy alongside the TPP webinars.